Hello everybody. I think I'm live. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Welcome to I think it's the 24th live stream that I'm doing with Britcent. Thank you for joining me today. We have Beatrice, one of our regulars. Hi Beatrice. I hope you're well. And hello to Chan as well, who's also a regular, and Sun Young too. Hello. Hi Warren, welcome back, and Hyunseok, welcome as well. Hello to Charlotte. Yes, Warren, it has been a while. We've missed you. What have you been up to? I hope everybody's okay. You've had a good start to the week. My week has been fine so far. Nothing really new to report. As you all know, in the UK, we're in lockdown still. So, yeah, there's not really much we can do outside of the house at the moment. And the news is usually quite gloomy, to be honest. But recently, in the last few days, luckily the news reports are now saying that the number of people with the coronavirus is going down very slightly each day. So that is great. Let's hope it continues that way, although it's still pretty bad and the numbers are quite high. So you probably know this, but all the restaurants in the UK are closed, bars are closed, pubs are closed, only essential shops are open. So if you want to have some takeaway food, you can get a delivery to your house only, order things online, but you can't actually go and sit down anywhere. So I hope the situation in your own countries is getting better, slowly. That would be great. Let's hope this year is better than last year. Welcome back to Charlotte, hello, and to Donghan. And Hohen as well. Also, these are some of our regulars. Welcome back. Last week we were talking about the differences between US and UK English, which is quite a hot topic since a lot of our students tend to learn American English rather than British English. Here at Britcent, the name tells you everything. We try to focus on British English, but of course, knowing American English is also important for watching films, etc. So we're moving on from that today. We're not going to be talking about UK, US English today. We're going to be talking mainly about pronunciation. Obviously, my pronunciation is British, so I can only really tell you about that. And obviously, it does depend on your accent. But yeah, let's have a look at some words and some phrases and practice saying them how most people would say them in the UK. So going back to the comments, Beatrice has said that her friend has arrived from England. Oh, wow, that's great. And brought you British tea. Oh, lovely. I hope you're drinking it with milk. Lovely. Sun Young says that it's getting better slowly in Korea too. That's very good to hear. I hope the same situation with our other viewers. So, talking about pronunciation, so you probably know, you guys have been learning English for a while, that English can be quite tricky when it comes to pronunciation. I think probably the main reason it's tricky is because a lot of the words that we see written down are not pronounced in the same way as they are spelt. So it's not the kind of language where you can read it directly as it's written down. Sometimes you can, of course, but a lot of the time you can't. So in English, there's a lot of silent letters. So letters in words which we completely ignore. And there are also different pronunciations of vowels as well. So for example, the letter A can be pronounced A, and it can also be pronounced A. So there's two different pronunciations of that letter, for example, and lots of other vowels are the same. Oh, hello, Tansy. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm very happy to see you here. So let me give you some examples of words which have silent letters. First of all, do you know any words? Write them in the chat, guys. If you know any words in English which have a silent letter in them, can you give me some examples in the chat? I'll give you one of my own. Here we go. This season over here. Which letter do you think is the silent letter in this word? Any ideas? Write it in the chat if you have an idea. Well done to Donghan. You gave us a great word there. Calm. Good. The L is silent in that word. And Beatrice is giving us night. Silent K. Very good. Very good, Chan. Yes, in this word that I've given you, it's... Well, actually, no, it's not the M. Sorry. Somebody else has given me the answer. I can't read your name. I'm sorry. The person below Warren's comment has written N. Yeah, so it's actually the N which is silent. So you don't say autumn. We don't do that. We just say autumn. And maybe some of you remember last week we were talking about British and American English. And we said that in the UK we say autumn. But in the US they don't say autumn. What do they say? Do you remember? Can you write it in the chat? What's the American word for this season? We've got some other words here that you guys have written with silent letters, like bomb. Well done. We don't pronounce the final B. And comb also from Warren's comment. The B is silent too. Good job, guys. Well done to Beatrice. You got it right. Yes, fall. Yes. So in the USA, they tend to call autumn fall. Okay. We never use this in the UK though. We always say autumn. Okay. And yeah, that silent N is important to remember. Okay. Lots of good examples you've given me with silent letters. Jisoo has given us receipt. Well done. That's a very good one because a lot of people get confused with that word and they do pronounce it wrong. So that's the word she's given me there. And the P is actually silent. So you don't pronounce the P. You say receipt. Receipt. Okay. So if you go to a shop, they might ask you, when you buy something, they might ask you, would you like your receipt? Okay. So yeah, forget the P in that one. Well done, guys. You've got lots of good examples of silent letters. So we have lots of words like that, which we're going to also practice in the mini quiz later. Oh, that's a good one, Sun Young. I'm going to include that one in on my board as well. Sword. Very good. So here we have another word with a silent letter, and that's the W. So we don't pronounce it sword, we say sword. Or, okay. So if you wrote it phonetically, that word, it would be like this in British English. Okay. So you have S, you have the or sound, which is this symbol. As you can see with the two dots, it means that it's a long sound, or, and D. So it's sword, like that, sword. Okay, good job, well done. Now, of course, as we said before, pronunciation does depend on where somebody comes from, on their accent. So obviously in the UK, we don't only have standard British accent, I guess you could call it, like my one. There are other accents around the UK. So they might pronounce the words that I'm saying slightly differently. And of course, if somebody is not from the UK, maybe from Australia or America, New Zealand, they would pronounce words differently too. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. But I'm going to tell you how I would pronounce them. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about connected speech. Okay, so this is basically what this means is that when native speakers speak quickly to each other, what happens is that a lot of sounds and words are dropped. So they're kind of like missing from the sentence, which can be a little bit confusing if you're not a native speaker, because you might not realize that they've said the word, but they've said it in a very soft way. Okay. Or you might think they've said something else because they're speaking very quickly, which can be a bit difficult, especially if you're a beginner to English. It can be really hard. The more fluent you get, the more advanced your skills get, and the more listening you do, you'll start to kind of realize that people do this more often, and hopefully in the future do it yourself when you're speaking English. So a lot of words in English have what we call a full form, like a strong form, I guess you could call it, and a weak form. Weak meaning that it's not really pronounced strongly. Okay, and because English is a stress-timed language, we often swallow the words that are not essential. Okay. So let me give you a very simple example. I'll give you, let's say, this phrase. So let's say I was saying this phrase over here. So I wouldn't, if I was speaking quickly, I wouldn't say a chair and a table. So I wouldn't separate the words. I would try to blend the words together so it sounds more natural and it's quicker. So what happens here? Now, if we look at the sentence, there are some words which are essential words. I would say chair and table are the most important words. So those ones have to be strong, okay? So these ones would be in full form, okay? When I say full form, I mean that they are not swallowed or reduced in sound. You have to say them fully, okay? However, these other words, so articles like a, an, the, etc. In this case, we've got a and a. And also conjunctions or linking words, prepositions, things like that. In this case, we have this linking word, this conjunction, and. Okay, so the full form is and. But when I say a phrase like this, I would reduce it to n. So it becomes really short. It almost becomes like an N, like that. Okay, so if I was to pronounce this sentence naturally, I wouldn't say a chair and a table. I would say a chair and a table. A chair and a table. So the and becomes a. You see how short that is? It's very weak. Yeah. Yes, Donghan, the full form would be the content word, because the content word is kind of like the words that you need to be able to understand the sentence. Okay. So these ones are the content words, chair and table. So I can't reduce those. I can't weaken them. So what I would say is a chair and a table. A chair and a table. I bought a chair and a table. So when someone hears that, they would hear chair, table. So they know for sure that that's what you're talking about. The other words are reduced. So they are very weak. Okay. Let me give you another example. I hope this makes sense to you. I know it can be a bit tricky to actually do that. I would say the first step is to listen out for it. Okay. So when you're listening to people speaking English, if you're listening to your teacher or you're watching a video on YouTube, try to listen out for this. Be active, like actively listening for this sort of thing. And then hopefully one day you'll be able to do it yourselves. Okay, but the first step is recognizing it. Yes. Okay. So Sanyang says, thank you for the explanation. Well done. You corrected yourself there. Good job. Donghan says rock and roll. Yes, exactly. So in this case, rock, roll, these are the content words. They're the strong words, the full form. The and is weak. We don't necessarily need to pronounce it strongly. So you can just say rock and roll. Okay? So you say n instead of and. All right? I'll give you another example. Okay, let's take this sentence. I realize I need to buy or get some more board pens because they're running out. Okay, I hope you can see this. Here we go. So this is another example. So in this one, there is actually one word which does not need to be pronounced fully. So which word do you think is or should be in the weak form? Can you type it in the chat? What do you think? So if I say this quickly, which word is weak? Charlotte has given us a very good example as well. War and peace. So any noun and plus noun, you can reduce the and to n. Okay, well done, Charlotte. Yes, to. The to is actually weak. So we don't actually need to pronounce this strongly at all. However, managed is an important word. It's a content word. And win, and of course, she. So if I was to say this quickly, this sentence, I would say, she managed to win. To win. Yeah, so to becomes t. And it almost kind of like links together with the other words like this. So these link together, these link together. So you say, she managed to win. She managed to win. To win. Try and say that yourselves. It's much more natural than saying she managed to win. The oo. We don't need to say oo. We can just say to win. Okay? And in that case, we're also using, and we when we reduce sounds, we use the famous schwa, okay, which we talked about a few times before. I mentioned it in the last live stream when we were talking about American and British English. This symbol, the schwa symbol in pronunciation. So when you reduce a sound, it normally becomes schwa, which is pronounced So t. So to becomes t. And becomes n. So it kind of's got that sound again. Yeah, so that's weak. All right, let's get a couple of comments. So Donghan says it ends with twin. Yeah, it sounds a bit like twin, I guess. Yeah. So managed to win. Managed. Okay, you're asking me about managed. Yeah, managed. Yeah, it's jd. So the ending, ed, is jd, like that. Managed to win. Managed to win. So it almost reduces as well, the ending, because when you connect it to two, it kind of like melts in to the next word. Yeah, so Gayan is asking me, ed is pronounced weak. Yes, so it's a D sound. It's the weak ending, so it's pronounced D, managed, like that. So it's not managed, which is the strong ending. It's the soft ending, managed, like that. Managed to win, like that. I hope that makes sense. So you can do this with a lot of words, a lot of phrases when you have and, when you have prepositions, when you have articles like a, and, the, etc. Okay, so that's quite a good thing to know, and hopefully you'll start recognizing these things yourselves. Okay, when you hear people speaking. Did you guys have any questions that you wanted to ask me about connected speech or about weak or strong sounds? Let me know in the chat if you have any questions. And I'd be happy to answer you as much as I can. So do let me know if you have any questions. We're also going to be talking about foreign words in English. So words that are not actually English words, but we use them in English as well, because I think that's quite a hot topic as well. Because in a lot of languages, they tend to pronounce them in the original way. But in English, we tend to pronounce them in an English way so that they're easier to pronounce for us. So TV has written cafe. Is that an example of a foreign word? And Donghan has written this word. You've spelt it wrong though. It's rendezvous. At least in English we pronounce it rendezvous. Okay. But the spelling is a bit different to how you've written it there. Shall I show you? I will write it for you on a post-it because my pens are all running out. Just give me a sec. So it should be written like this. Let me just check I've spelt it right. Yeah, like that. Okay. This is a French word. It basically means like an arrangement to meet somebody. So like meeting someone. But we pronounce it rendezvous. I think it's quite similar to how they pronounce it in French. I guess they say it with a more French accent, but we say rendezvous, rendezvous, like that. So yeah, that's the French word that we use. Gayan said, I'm having a difficulty when I pronounce particularly. Ah, yes. It is a bit tricky, actually, that one, because of the ending of the word. That's true. So in British English, we normally wouldn't pronounce the final R sound. So maybe it would help you if you try to forget about that one. So I would say per, even the first R, so both R's are more like a long vowel. So I would say particularly, lily. So the ending would be lily, particularly, particularly. Try it, particularly, like that. I hope that helps a little bit. So yeah, those R's, the first R, the last R, we don't normally pronounce in British English. Sun Young says, told me, how can I pronounce it well? Well, if you put that in a sentence, for example, he told me he loved me, the D would actually become almost silent. So you say, he told me, told me. So you say "ol" like that, toll, and the D is dropped because you've got M coming next. So because of connected speech, the D and the M merge. So I would say, he told me he loved me, told me, like that. Try and say that. Charles has a question. Can you pronounce a word sandwich? Okay, you should say the word. But yes, of course I can. Sandwich. So the D is normally not pronounced strongly. So it's almost silent there. So it would be sandwich, sandwich. Because it's quite difficult to say sandwich. Yeah, so sandew. Like that's a bit too many consonants. So I would drop the D and say sandwich, sandwich. Try it. Okay. Yeah. TV says world is also hard. World. Yeah. Again, this one, because of in British English, we wouldn't pronounce the R. Instead, we lengthen the world. World. Like that. So the R is dropped. So try it again. World. Like that. Chan says, mine is different from yours, unfortunately. Keep practicing. Hopefully you'll get there. And re-watch this video later to see me saying it again. Okay. Charles has a question about mayonnaise. Please pronounce mayonnaise. So we normally say mayonnaise. 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 Or you can shorten it to mayo, which most people do. They say, would you like some mayo? The full word is mayonnaise. That's it. So let's look at some of these foreign words which we have adopted in English, some other words. So we had the word rendezvous. I wanted to show you them in a kind of like organized way. So I'm going to start with brands, so like famous brands. One of them, which is actually, I think it's a Swedish brand, and I think it's pretty much international, this one, which we pronounce differently to how they say it in Sweden and other countries. I will show you it. It's this one. Famous furniture shop. So I believe that in other countries and in Sweden itself, they pronounce it Ikea. Ikea. We do not say it like that in Britain. We say Ikea. Ikea. So it's quite different, the beginning. Yeah, So we pronounce it Ikea, exactly. So if you're in England or you're speaking to a British person, don't say Ikea, say Ikea, okay? That doesn't mean that it's correct in terms of the way it doesn't mean that we are saying it correctly. We're just saying it in our English way, okay? So if you want to be understood, you should say it the way we would normally say it. So Ikea, okay? Exactly, Minji. It sounds like the letter I and the car, Kia. Yeah, Ikea. You can remember it like that, maybe. Yeah. So that's one that I've heard many people pronouncing differently to the way we say it here. And then another brand, maybe this one could be a good one. It's a Spanish clothing company. So I believe that in Spain it would be pronounced something like Zara or Zara, something like that. We do not say it like that. I don't know how you guys say it, but we say Zara. Zara. So we say Z and a long R sound. Zara. Zara. That's how we pronounce it. Okay. Yeah, very popular here in the UK, this clothing brand, Zara. Sun Young says every country pronounces words in their own way. I think that's true about some things, but not about everything, because I do know that in some languages they try to pronounce it in a similar way to how they say it originally. But here in the UK, we don't always do that. We do with some words, but not all. I would say with French words, because probably they've been established in the language for such a long time, we do try to pronounce them similar to the French way. But with other words coming from other languages, less so. That's just my own observation. I may be wrong. Chan is telling me about this. Oh yes, let's talk about that one. The car make. So when you talk about cars, we don't call them brands, we call them makes. So a make of car. For example, this make over here, we pronounce it Audi. Okay, so we say ow, like ow, you hurt me. So we say Audi. Okay. Or let's think of another one. Well, I can use the one that Chan gave us there, which is actually a Korean make of car. This one. Well, I think people pronounce it in different ways in the UK. I've heard people I usually say Hyundai. Okay. Hyundai, like that. But I know that in the original language, in Korean, it's not pronounced like that. It's pronounced quite differently. I think it's pronounced Hunte or something similar like that, or Hyunte. I'm not sure exactly. But if you say that in England, they probably wouldn't know what you're talking about. So try to use the, British spelling of that. Not spelling, British pronunciation. So it's Hyundai. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you've written it in the way that it sounds in English. Yeah, Hyundai. Another famous make of car is this one. I think this is quite similar to the original language. Here we pronounce it Toyota. So it's Toyota. Toyota. So that's another famous one. And we also have Mercedes. Or Mercedes-Benz, you could say, if you want. We normally just say Mercedes, though. Mercedes. I think in the original language they say Mercedes, but we don't say des, we say dies. Mercedes, like that. Charles is asking a question. How do you pronounce the brand? Oh, good question. Yes. So not a car, but another clothing store that's very famous over here in the UK because of their cheap, affordable clothes. This one. We pronounce it Primark. So it's Primark. Primark. Like that. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this place. Primark. They've always got long queues for the checkout and for the changing room. Sanyang says, Mercedes is quite different from Korea. Okay. I know that in Korea, a lot of people say Benz, or they pronounce it maybe a bit differently, but you normally say Benz, right? You don't normally refer to it as a Mercedes. Am I right? Lily says, I love Primark. I don't think you're the only one. Yeah. It's really popular here. Yeah. Actually, during the coronavirus, so in the last year, Primark has had to close because it's obviously a non-essential shop and only essential shops can open here because of that. So Primark have had to close. And they're actually one of the only stores that doesn't have online shopping. They don't have an online shopping service. So a lot of people have been trying to ask Primark to get one, but they don't seem to want to. I don't know why. There must be a reason for that, but yeah, interesting fact, I thought. And of course, there's a lot of dishes from around the world that we, that we like to eat here in the UK. Those of you who've been to London probably know that in London you can find so many different restaurants from different countries producing like authentic dishes. And we do have our own way of pronouncing some dishes that are not from England originally. One of them, I'll give you an example, is the Spanish dish. Do you guys know this dish over here? Can you tell me what it is? What it's made of? What it consists of, rather? And think about how you would normally pronounce it yourselves. How would you say this word? Because we pronounce it quite differently to how they say it in Spain, which is where it's from. Gayan said, isn't it a sort of rice? Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's like a rice dish. Yeah. It normally is served in a big pan, like a shallow pan like that. And it's got rice, chicken, seafood, veggies, stuff like that. It's really tasty. Yeah, exactly, Beatrice. Rice with seafood. I love it. Well, Gayon says paella. Exactly, yeah. So it should, well, in Spanish, the double L is not pronounced L like it is in English. It's more like a Y sound, like a Y. Some people in the UK try to copy the Spanish way and they say paella. Some people don't and they say paella. So they pronounce the L. Okay. So you might hear some people in England saying paella and others saying paella. Depends on the person, really. So yeah, that's quite a different one to the original language. Minji says, if I didn't watch this video, I couldn't go some stores in the UK, or I should write down the spelling. Maybe you should write down the spelling so that in the future you can go. Jihye, yes, it is a little bit confusing. It's true. I'm sometimes a bit confused myself because sometimes I know the way it's pronounced in the other language, but if you are speaking in English and then you suddenly say a word in a very foreign way, it can sound a little bit strange. Or people might think that you're trying to be clever, you know? So it's better to maybe sometimes pronounce it in the way we pronounce it, if that makes sense. Another foreign word for food, which I personally love, and I'm sure a lot of you do as well, is this. Delicious, filled with chocolate or almond, with a nice cup of tea or coffee. Palma says, I have eaten paella at Covent Garden. Ooh, very nice. Yeah, it's quite a popular dish here in Spanish tapas restaurants. Yeah. Sanyang thinks that she should study the culture and language of that country when you travel. Yes, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, because language and culture go together, don't they? Yeah. Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So obviously this is a French word because it comes from France. We pronounce it a little bit differently to how they say it in French. So I would say most people would say quoi. So the beginning it would be quoi. And say croissant, like that, croissant. Croissant. So the T is normally silent anyway, so we don't say the T at the end. And the CR, we usually say quoi, like that, quoi, croissant. So you could say, can I have a croissant, please? Can I have a croissant, please? I think in American English they say croissant or croissant or something like that. They say it a little bit differently. But yeah, we tend to say croissant. In French, they would probably say like croissant or something like that. But obviously, it would sound a bit strange to say that when you're speaking English. Beatrice says, I love croissant. Me too. Me too. I haven't had one in a while. But yeah, it's delicious, filled with chocolate, in my opinion. Although, if you get one in France, I think even if it's just completely plain, it will be amazing. Yeah. Gayan says, I don't know why it's so different between the spelling and pronunciation. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a French word, so it's spelt in the French way, but we don't pronounce it in a French way. Not entirely, at least. Yeah. This one, I'll give you one more example of a foreign food from Japan. I don't think this is pronounced very differently in English, though. I'm not sure. This one. So we would say sushi. Sushi. Maybe in Japanese they say it a little bit differently. If we have any people from Japan, let me know. But we say su and shi. Sushi. Sushi. Sushi is also really popular here. Sushi restaurants and sushi for lunch, etc. It's like really popular here. Minji says, maybe I will point out that bread. Difficult to pronounce. Yeah, you could just say, I'd like one of those, please. And point at the croissant. Yeah. Donghan has a question. How do you pronounce... Oh, good question. Yeah, that one's a British word, actually. So no trouble pronouncing that. But we do have two pronunciations of it. So this is the word that Donghan has asked about. Some people pronounce it one way and others another way. So, so some people say scone. So they say o. So it's a short sound. And some people say scone. Scone. Yeah, so it just depends on the person, really. I say scone. but I've had arguments with people about how it should be pronounced, scone or scone. Obviously very light-hearted arguments, nothing too serious. People like to argue about the pronunciation of things. But yeah, both are okay. You can say scone or you can say scone. Yeah. Okay, guys, so now I think it's time that we get on with our usual mini quiz. So every live stream that we do a tiny quiz where I ask you a few questions related to the topic. I have a mini quiz prepared for you today. So please let me know in the chat if you're ready to start the mini quiz. Question 1, let me know. Okay. We've got a yay, so I'm guessing that somebody's ready. Jihye, you're ready? And we have Gayan ready, Chan's ready, Lily. Okay, we have some people who are ready. Good job. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to start. Okay, first question. Here we go. So I'm going to show you 2 words, and I want you to tell me whether they are the same or different. So do these words sound the same or do they sound different? Here we go. Write in the chat S for same or D for different. Let's see who gets the answer first. Very good, guys. Lots of good answers. Well done. The winner for this round is Wurim. Well done. The answer is D, different. Very good. Now, how are they pronounced differently? Because a lot of people get confused with these words. So I'm going to write the phonetics for the first word. And for the second one, and we can practice those together. Okay, here we go. Well done to you, Warren. So the first word is pronounced bear. Bear. So it's air. This symbol here. The second one is pronounced beer. Beer. Do you hear the difference? So let's try again. Bear, beer. Bear, beer. So you could say, I saw a huge bear in the forest. So I sat down and drank a beer. There we go. Well done. Good. I'm glad you guys get it. Okay, so that was question 1. Well done to Warren for getting that right first. Let's move to our second question. So, second question. I'm going to show you a word. Tell me how many syllables does this word have? When I say syllables, I mean parts. So, for example, the word beautiful has 3 syllables. Beautiful. Yeah? So how many syllables does this word have? Write the number in the chat. Here's the word. Okay, we've got some answers in. Ooh, we have mixed answers. A few different answers here. Not everybody agrees with each other. Okay, it seems like Warrim is the winner again. Well done, Warrim. You're doing really well. The answer is actually 3. 3 syllables, okay? Which might be a bit confusing, but it's simply because we don't pronounce one of those E's. So we don't normally say this E here. You can forget about it. So we pronounce it interesting. So it's 3 parts, yeah? So we've got interesting. And you have to stress the first one. So you say interesting, interesting. Try it with me, okay? Interesting, interesting. So as you can see, it's 3. A lot of people make the mistake of saying something like interesting. So they say inter. They add that extra syllable, but you actually don't need to pronounce the ER. And instead you just say interesting, like that. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So I hope you get that. 3 syllables over there. By the way, if you're interested in seeing more about this sort of thing, like syllables, etc., we've got a video on our Britcent YouTube. I'm going to post the link in the chat. Here we go. So if you're interested, have a look at this video later. And in this video, it's me again. I hope you're not sick of me. And I'm going to pronounce, like in the video, I pronounce some different words in this way, like difficult words. Okay. TV says, it's interesting that camera is 2 syllables. Yes, exactly. Camera. Yeah, that's right. Well done. Okay, guys, let's move to our 3rd question. Okay, so 3rd question is, which letter is silent in this word? Have a look. Which letter is silent in this word? Let me know in the chat which letter you think is the silent one. Okay, we've got some mixed answers, but it seems like Sue Kim is the first one to get it right. Well done. I was actually looking for the N. The N is silent. So you don't pronounce the N. Instead, we pronounce this word government. So it's government. 3 syllables again. But we don't say government. So we don't say earn. We don't say that. Instead, we just say government. Yeah, government. I'm not saying that the R is silent because this is, again, British pronunciation. So it's more like the fact that the E here becomes longer. So we don't say R, we don't pronounce the strongly. Instead, what we do is we lengthen the E. But the N is completely silent in any pronunciation. So American, Australian, like nobody says the N, okay? So we pronounce it government, government. Okay, guys, I have time for one more question today. This one is about connected speech, okay? So we talked about connected speech at the beginning of this lesson. So I'm going to show you a sentence, a question actually, and I want you to tell me which one of these words is pronounced in its weak form, so meaning that the word almost disappears. Okay, have a look. Let me know in the chat which word is normally weak when you say this quickly in connected speech. Okay, let me know in the chat which word you think it is. Okay, we've got some answers in. Good job, guys. It seems to me that Beatrice, you were the first one to get it right. Well done. The answer is do. So we don't say do, we say due. So what happens is the do kind of connects. Let me do this. The do connects to the you, and it kind of like reduces down. So the O is almost gone. So you can say, how often do you see her? How often do you see her? Do you, like that. Okay. So the do is the silent word, or let's say not really silent, but weak. Okay. Well done to that, guys. Very good. Very good. Lots of good answers there. Good job, Beatrice, for getting it right first. Well done. You got it. You nailed it. Very good. Okay, guys, I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been great fun. I hope that it's been useful for you and that you you come away from this with some more knowledge about British pronunciation. Of course, there's so much we can say about pronunciation. There's lots of things we can talk about. Perhaps we can talk about it another time again. I'm glad you've enjoyed the lesson. Thank you so much for coming along. And I'll be here same time next week. Same time, same place. Different topic. Okay, so please join me and tell your friends to join us as well if they want to learn English. Subscribe to this page. We need to get more viewers and more people participating. Can you help me with that? Thank you so much to those who have come along today. It's been great fun. I'll see you next week, okay? Take care. Bye.